Yo, hello everybody. Thank you guys all for stopping by the stream. I am joined today not with Matt Savoca. I am joined with Mr. Andy. How are you doing today, Andy?
Doing all right. Going to give you that substitute gym teacher treatment. I'm going to be like McShay doing Monday night or Thursday night football all of a sudden, the random voice that you weren't expecting to hear, but you're going to have to deal with for the next however many minutes. So I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, a substitute teacher is actually a good thing. It means you don't have to do as much stuff.
Yeah, there's a movie that I'm willing to wager $78 that you haven't seen called Summer School. Have you ever heard of the show NCIS?
Heard of that?
The main guy, Mark Harmon, he plays like the gym teacher who's forced to teach summer classes. And, they're all so happy because he was just the gym teacher and he comes in, he lets them do whatever the hell they want. So I guess, normally it's a good thing.
All right. Well, that's good. We're going to have a great time today. This stream is brought to you guys by BetMGM. We're going to talk about them a little bit later. Before we dive super deep into these tiers at the wide receiver position, I figured we can just go ahead and answer a bunch of questions in the chat. So, Harbo, first question here. Should I play Eno Benjamin tonight or pray that Swift plays and has a full workload? Feeling like Benjamin could be a dud. My opinion on this question is that I think that DeAndre Swift's going to play, so I would be fine waiting. What do you think?
Yeah, especially when you're not going to get a full Benjamin because, you just had to find out yesterday that, oh, yeah, he's going to be active. So are you even going to have him at 100% himself? I'll tell you what, I'll take Swift at under 100% opposed to Eno Benjamin under 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And Swift has missed so much time at this point that when he comes back, there's no way he's not at least 90%, you would have to think, right?
Yeah. And look, he's not getting a full workload for him means half the snaps. So
Yeah.
they'll manage him to a certain extent, but he's been as efficient as they come. And that offensive line has been good. And then also you would really be kicking yourself on Monday. It's like, I just lost because I started Eno Benjamin over DeAndre Swift. And you never want to be saying something like that to yourself on Monday when you're looking at avoidable mistakes made along the way.
Exactly. And Detroit's defense is so bad that they are still number 1 in points against, and they had a bye last week. So they basically lost to the bye week. That bad.
Yeah.
Fucking that defense stinks. Okay, so next question here. Good morning, guys. Should I start Olave tonight or Mike Williams at the flex? The Seattle matchup sounds better to roll against. Sorry, can't read. I would personally go with Mike Williams. He's a lot more risky because every week he literally is going to score either 3 or 25 points. But I'd rather go with that. What do you think?
If I can make you feel better about the Mike Williams call, go look at his weeks after a bad week. And when you're looking at his matchup last week, that's as tough as it comes. I'm willing to chalk that up closer to, rough matchup against a cornerback than the up and down world of Mike Williams, because I have to look at his last few weeks before that. But I'm pretty sure Mike Williams consistently was hitting over 70 yards or a touchdown. So I don't think he's screwed you in a while. That was just a case of the quarterback feeling like he was under duress, constantly just checking it down to Eckler, and then being up against a great corner. So I would definitely start Williams because, I don't know, when I see him have a down week, that's usually, send the signals. I'll be all over him in DFS this week.
That makes sense. Did you happen to watch that game at the end, or did you turn it off during that snooze fest? Because I still believe he caught that ball. I don't know if you watched it, but he made a toe tap catch, and I think he caught it, and they didn't even look at it again.
On this, I would you need to see the slow motion sideline shot more times for that second foot, but they just casually, glazed over it. So it looked like it on that one slow-mo shot.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, Olave, if it was Jameis, you'd have a real dilemma on your hands. You're getting Dalton. He's not winning.
Seems like Jameis might play.
Well, I was looking at the sportsbook props, and they rarely list the incorrect starter, and they have Dalton's statistics up there. So if you need a tip of the cap of who's playing, it's got to be him, or else they would have listed Winston's over and unders on yardage and touchdowns and whatnot.
That makes sense then. Yeah, I just read that yesterday. Jameis actually practiced, so that to me meant like maybe he'll play at least.
Nah.
That makes sense then. Yeah, the books never get that shit wrong.
Yeah, they're not listing the wrong starter in there.
Alrighty. Should I flex Najee or Rondell Moore this week? And then I'm gonna pull up the rankings in a second. I personally would flex Rondell Moore tonight. What do you think?
I really like his situation this week. You know, Kyler likes to get the ball out of his hands. No more Marquise Brown there. Hopkins' first game back. It's not like, I mean, is he really going to be a target hog? Is he really going to be in his best form? One thing I do got to see is if Lattimore's playing, because I know he missed last week. But if he's playing, that's even another reason to like him. No Connor. I mean, the short passes are what Murray loves, and it seems great. However, I know how bad Najee's been, even though he wiggled in the end zone last week. I just believe it's a matchup where he'll get a good amount of usage because I know you're a Dolphins fan, but I think the Dolphins really need a win. And I don't think this is one where they're just going to be blowing them out of the water. I think they're going to, it's weird, play like have a smart game plan. But as long as Pittsburgh is relatively close, I think they'll be able to keep giving Harris touches. And I really feel like he could have the random pretty good week.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins' run defense is absolute dog shit, too. If I'm being completely honest with you, that's been the reason why Dolphins have stunk for years. They let up a run against Dalvin Cook in that game where he just gashed us for like 50 or 60 yards. It was unbelievable, but it is what it is. I hope Najee Harris is back, if I'm being honest with you. He scored last week. That was very positive.
He's not back.
But yeah, I don't think he's back.
He's not back.
Alrighty, so now we're getting to tier 1 at the wide receiver position. These guys are basically the no-brainers. You don't have to think fucking twice about it. Tyreek Hill of the Dolphins, Jamar Chase of the Bengals, and Devontae Adams. Do you think, since this is really the only player that hasn't really been that productive this season or as productive, is Jamar Chase? Do you think Jamar Chase has a repeat big game this week, or do you think he goes back to being like wide receiver 15?
I think he's now at least at the level where once that one breakout comes, I think it's more likely that you'll see it more often the rest of the way. It's hard to say. I believe he's under the tier of like the Justin Jeffersons and like Cooper Kupps, but he's exactly with this tier. In my book, this is tier 2. But Kupp and Jefferson have like their own tier.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, Kupp isn't playing this week. That's why he's not up here.
Yeah.
Same with Jefferson.
Yeah. So, but yeah, these three they're all in the same territory, if you ask me.
Okay, gotcha. So let's move on to next tier because again, these are all guys that you're really just going to start regardless. You don't have to.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's way better off to get deeper in the list. That's where the real questions are. You know, nobody's benching. Actually, that guy was gonna bench Mike Williams.
Well, it depends really about what kind of league you're in too. Because if you're in like a 10-team league, like there's people that have literally 3 guys that are up here. Like people have Lamb, Debo, and maybe Godwin. Like that's something that you could get. People definitely.
I know. I've always struggled giving advice on those leagues because I lean in and say, "Congrats, you won a league where your all-stars beat the other all-stars." Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then it turns out that like I'm in a 10-team league with my friends from home, and my team's stacked, and I have like 2 fucking wins, and it's like you can never do the correct thing because it's so hard to figure out who to start in 10-team leagues because you make one minute mistake and then you lose by like 50.
If your league has starting running backs and waivers, in my opinion, it's not worth playing if you're competitive. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes no skill. You can just scrounge up some starting running back if yours goes down. You know, in a deep league, if one of your running back gets injured, you better have handcuffed him. You better have drafted deep, and you know it introduces skill. But anyway, on this list, I can see who could screw you. Tyler Lockett. He could always screw you. Didn't he screw you last week? And not you personally, the proverbial you out there in the world. By the way, look at Wayne Gretzky in the top right having himself a good time.
Yeah, a great one. Looking great. talk about him in a minute. But yeah, I agree with you on Tyler Lockett. Him and DK Metcalf, they Eiffel Towered your team basically. It was a bad showing out of both of them. But at the end of the day, one bad Geno game up against Arizona doesn't really sway me too much. Did you think that was going to be a high scoring game? Because I was like so excited about that game. The whole
No.
4 p.m. slate seemed exciting, and then it all kind of sucked. I mean, I guess the Chiefs
One
game was
person,
interesting, but
one person at a time, I've had to slowly convince everybody that they need to start thinking of the Arizona Cardinals as like when you see, I'm not kidding though, like one little tier above these Thursday night football games. Like when you saw last week the Commanders play the Bears, and in your head you go, oh, you actually need to start implementing that with Arizona. Since Hopkins went down last year, they have been an abysmal team. The way they ended last season, the way they looked in the playoffs, the way they've started this season, they have not looked dynamic since early last season. And if you want to isolate a few couple of Kyler Murray running plays where, you know, he's looking like a kid trying to get out of a playpen, then yeah, okay. But I am not shocked at all. One of my NFL best bets was taking the Seahawks and getting points because I don't think the Cardinals should pretty much ever be favored. They're that level of bad. And I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all because, you know, if they don't, like the thing is, if a team sets a bar, it seems like the Seahawks are going to try to match it with their game plan. But if a team like Arizona is not able to score points, then you're going to see more running and a slower attack out of them. You need somebody to push them a little bit to force their hand. They went down in New Orleans, forced to throw it more, forced to be more aggressive. And you need a team who's going to push them. And this new school Arizona, they ain't pushing anybody. Now watch them tomorrow night go put up 40 points, or tonight rather. I don't think so, but yeah, I wasn't surprised. I faded them in DFS big time that whole game.
all right. Well, I honestly think that based on what you're saying and what I believe as well, Cliff Kingsbury has to be on the hot seat. And I think if they lose tonight, he's literally gone.
It's a mix of him, and I truly believe Kyler Murray was overrated from, you know, a stretch where he played out of his mind. We've seen many quarterbacks have stretches where they were out of their mind. And then, you know, that spread it out. What is it called? The horizontal magic show?
Air raid offense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was one of those situations where, all right, we got a year's worth of tape on this. People kind of figured it out. Murray kind of lost some of his ability to throw the ball accurately down the field, and there goes that. And I think that's currently where they're at. Kingsbury is hitting up too many Instagram models online, and then Kyler Murray's playing too many Call of Duty games, and it's not looking good over there.
Yeah, I mean, the proof was already kind of in the pudding with Cliff. I mean, he wasn't successful with Patrick Mahomes in college. Not a big shocker, right, that he's not the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyone else in this tier you want to talk about, or should we just pivot?
I do. Well, I don't know why Tyler Lockett's ahead of DK Metcalf just overall, but also I personally feel that every single, for the most part, bet that I've taken with Kyle Shanahan-led teams, I've been on the money with. I just know how he runs his system, and when he plays better teams and must-win games, Debo gets a ton of usage out of the backfield and short passes behind the line of scrimmage. He's a focal point of the offense in games against teams like the Rams and the Chiefs and the Packers. So look for Debo to have a huge week, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Yeah, Debo's been pretty, let's be honest, like this season, he has not lived up to like any hype at all. Like he's getting like 12 points a game. Aside from that Rams game, that's really his only good game. But your narrative might be true, right? He does play bigger in those games.
Yeah, Atlanta, no, we're not giving him. It's like they're also saving his touches for when they're really going to need it the most, because they know, you saw towards the playoffs, in the playoffs, how much they were willing to use him, and it's smart. You don't want to break this guy down early. His first 2 seasons, he was very injury prone. He got through last season only missing 1 game. They know how important. If he's done, that team's done.
That makes sense. I never even thought about it that way. So next tier here, move to tier number 3. We got Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jacoby Myers, Robert Woods, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Chris Olave, and Juju Smith-Schuster. The biggest standout for me is D-Hop. I think D-Hop should be ranked higher. I know he's just coming back off of the suspension, but it's not like he was hurt or something. I think he's going to have just a fine game. And Lattimore's probably not going to be playing tonight. What do you think about D-Hop?
Yeah. I've been scarred for 10 years when I drafted Vincent Jackson when he intentionally held out and showed up week 10. And then in the opening snap against the Colts, he pulled his hamstring. So I am always, ever since then, I'm just like, I'm scared because game action is different. And I know he's been practicing, but opening night for him against teams who have been on the field for this many weeks already, not sure I like that spot the most. If I had him, I would obviously start him just for the excitement factor in and of itself. And with Lattimore not playing, that would probably be my tiebreaker when you look at the New Orleans pass defense these last couple of weeks. And you always got to like playing in that Arizona building. You know, I don't know what the hell Robert Woods is doing up there, but I understand he's their de facto number one. But coming off that torn ACL, has he even topped 50 yards in any game this year? What's he doing up there?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he should be ranked that high either. The one guy to talk about as well. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's doing good. We are going to answer your guys' questions. Don't worry. But the biggest guy here that I want to talk about is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He obviously played in week 5 against the Patriots. He played like absolute shit, but the Patriots completely locked them down. The Patriots own Jared Goff, as we already know. So that was a bad game for them. But Amon-Ra St. Brown now coming off the bye. How do you think he performs? Because it seemed like he was kind of a de facto top 10 receiver, and our rankings right now don't tell that story since he's wide receiver 17.
You have to assume he returns to that type of form. The fact that he was able to gut it out and get on the field, and I think his snaps were limited to like 30, 40%. Okay, well, then, so the fact that he was able to go on the field, I mean, think about T. Higgins, right? He, last week on the primetime game, got a handful of snaps, sat out, came back the very next week and was able to play a significant percentage of snaps. Now you're talking about a guy like St. Brown. He was able to play, and, you know, I don't think they were going to risk it with a guy who's very important to them. Then gets the full bye week, now coming out a full week after that. And he already is tough to begin with. If you've ever seen him, you have to play him with a certain amount of confidence.
I agree with you on that. You got to be confident with a guy like that who's just that good. Like, he has been unreal this year and going into last year as well. Like, dating back to the end of that season, he was on fire. And then one more guy to talk about here, and then I'll start answering some questions here. We'll start answering some questions. Deontay Johnson, what do you think about him? Considering that right now it's kind of unknown who the starting quarterback is going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be Pickett. We have to move Deontay Johnson down because he hasn't really cracked the top 24 much this season, and he's basically a bust at this point.
If you added like a touchdown or two in those weeks, because there were a couple weeks he still had like those 7 catches, right? Or
most
like
games he does have. Yeah.
So really, I guess what's happened so far is you haven't got the touchdown luck. So if those targets are still there, and I haven't closely monitored the Steelers receivers the last couple of weeks, I know it seemed like Pickett was spreading it around relatively evenly. If the targets are still there, then, and if it's full point PPR, then yeah. If you're playing one of those 0 or just, they used to call them standard, but I don't think they're standard anymore.
Now still, I think.
Yeah, it's a little scary rolling out a guy like that with his quarterback situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I have Deontay Johnson. He's a guy I talked up a lot in the offseason. Didn't really pay off, but what was I supposed to know? You know, how was
You think Juju can build off last week?
I hope so. I mean, the problem with him is that there's just so many receivers there that are super fucking fast that Mahomes can just throw the ball to. And just
but he should be their intermediate guy. Like, remember Sammy Watkins when he was healthy? he had many big games because, you know, Hill was stretching the field. Kelsey was a nuisance to deal with. And then it seemed like Watkins got the worst corner and always making these 15 to 20-yard catches. And I feel like if Hill was still there, Schuster would be going off because, he's unfortunately getting top corner treatment. And I don't know if he's of that echelon to be able to beat that on a week in, week out, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Hill would definitely help them out a ton. I mean, it's not like the Chiefs are ass without Hill, but I mean, the guys
they're very good. They're very good.
World beater.
Yeah.
I mean, he leads the NFL in receiving yards, and he's had Teddy Bridgewater, Skyler, and Tua throwing the ball. So pretty impressive.
Seriously, it's
All right.
wild.
Thank you, Jason, for the super chat. We greatly appreciate it. Cam Akers, stash or trash? Well, it appears he's out of LA. Where's he gonna go? Who fucking knows? But I'm not trashing him yet because we're only like the trade deadline, I believe, is like 12 days away, something like that. So I'm not getting rid of him now, right? Because his value might be like, imagine he lands on Buffalo or something. People talk themselves into him being worthy, and then you trade him.
I was going to say this, so I'm going to take the other side of this argument. Okay, so now you convinced me to keep him. He's going to get traded. I go, okay, to who? So now give me a team he's getting traded to. Give me one of your best case scenarios.
The Broncos.
So he goes to the Broncos, where they had a guy who this whole world is saying Javonte's season, capital SZN for years, and he's splitting it with Gordon. So you're going to send in Cam Akers to get 40 to 60%. I mean, 60 is if you're so lucky. And what's he going to do with that looking the way he's looked? I've had Jell-O in a glass and put it upside down and watched it just slowly trickle its way out. That's him trying to get off that line of scrimmage. I have nothing against this guy. He is the slowest guy I've ever seen in my life at this point. And he is Sony Michel to me at this point. He's nothing. So I would send that guy miles off my team, especially if you're in one of these 10 teams. I'd rather have Eno Benjamin the rest of the year than Cam Akers.
Yeah, see, but my thought process on keeping him is that you keep him, you hope he moves to one of these teams, then you just trade him.
Yeah,
right? Because his trade value will be at the maximum when he moves to X team that could be good. Like I imagine if the Broncos trade for him, they also ship Melvin Gordon to the Rams, right?
No,
or
I don't
the
think
Bills,
so.
Maybe could he go to the Bills and
what's that going to do? They like Singletary.
No,
that would be awful for him. He'd be buried under Zach Moss there.
Yeah, see, I guess I just think his trade value will be high. I don't think he's good. Like he's clearly that injury's still hurting him, clearly, or he's just washed. He's bad.
Yeah, like I never know where I land on that stuff. All I know is the guy I'm looking at looks like Sony Michel. So I'm out. Like Shark Tank.
That's mean to Sony Michel, honestly. Sony Michel's looked good at points.
His rookie year, ever since
Remember last year when he was on the Rams? Pretty good.
Yeah. Well enough. All right.
Jason, are you related to John Quiones, the guy from that fucking TV show? You know what I'm talking about? What's that show called? It's like, what would you do? You know what I'm talking about?
What would you do you're talking about, or I'm thinking of, was from like 1993. So I don't think that's the one you're referring to.
Good. Called. Fuck. Yeah. What would you do? It's on TV. It's like, would you buy this child fucking alcohol at the store or whatever? Like you've never seen that show?
I'll look it up as you bring up the next tier of wide receivers. Let me see this.
Would
nonsense.
You buy this kid cigarettes? That's like
I would.
Thank you for the advice. No problem, Betty. How you doing? No, Jason is not related to him. But yeah, Jason, in my opinion, I'm just holding Cam Akers, but I'm not going to judge you if you cut him. Just hasn't done much, and you never know where he's even going to get traded to. One more question as we pivot the rankings. Rondale Moore or Terry McLaurin? I think I would go with Terry McLaurin because Taylor Heineke does this thing where he just chucks the ball.
Yeah, chuck it up.
Like, chuck it up. He's out there somewhere. And that either results in a lot of points or not a lot of points, but it's better than Carson Wentz. So I'd go with Terry McLaurin. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I refuse to believe Terry McLaurin's not the same guy in his first as he is. Like, he should be in his athletic prime. He should be as good as he's ever been. And at least we're seeing a guy who he's put up solid numbers with. And Heineke's coming in there with my house money theory. When you're not the starter and you're the backup, you get to play freely because it ain't your job. So you can throw as many interceptions, and it's great when quarterbacks play free like that. But if he's named the starter week one, he's going to be tense. Backups with ability, I love when they come in and don't have pressure on them. So I think he can be winging it around. And what's their matchup this week? It was a good one, I remember.
Green Bay.
No, so that's not that. Yeah, it's not that great, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've seen games that he's had before. I just wish it wasn't this week with Rondale Moore, because I like him in PPR to have like 5-6 catches, short ones. But I would still go McLaurin for that upside.
All right. So the end of tier 3 here is Hunter Renfrow, Amari Cooper. Hunter Renfrow doesn't even enter my top 32. I mean, the guy hasn't done much this year. He does have a lot of grit in him, but you don't get points per grit. So I'm going to go with Amari Cooper significantly higher than him. Cooper has been outstanding this year, and Jacoby Brissett has really impressed. You got anything on either of these guys?
Well, yeah. I mean, Cooper really, he's just always going to have such a high target share because it's him and then a little bit of Njoku and even less of Peoples-Jones. Any game where you think they may have to keep up, I think he had 12 targets last week, even though he only ended up with like 50 and a touchdown against the Patriots. If you want to make an argument for Hunter Renfrow, it could be that Waller's not going to play. But man, you know what's very discouraging for Hunter Renfrow? That he was only on the field for 3 receiver sets. Like, essentially, they were using Mac Hollins as their every down receiver and only bringing him in when it was a 3 receiver set. Team with a bad offensive line. They have Adams there. Jacobs is running hot. That's a tough sell for a Hunter Renfrow, but normally I actually like him. But the way the Raiders are doing things right now, it's a tough sell.
All right. So we move to the next tier here. But before we do that, we got a super chat. And Sebastian, maybe is how you say this. You don't have Stephon Diggs in tier 1. Why? You guys don't watch football properly? Well, it's hard to rank him in tier 1 when he's on the bye week. Al. Sorry.
I mean, just think about that. You typed up that question. You thought you had it all figured out. You thought everyone was going to be dropping mics. Oh, and now you're just like, I'm an idiot. I'm not calling you an idiot. I think that you are calling you an idiot. On to the next page here.
Yeah, so JP Moore with the super chat, thank you. Can only start 5. Jonathan Taylor, CMC, Stevenson, Adams, Pittman, Godwin. I am going to start Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Adams, and Godwin.
So you cut out Pittman after those 12 catches?
It's hard. I like Godwin and Pittman are so close to me. Godwin has a lot of upside against Carolina. I guess Pittman's safer. So, you know what? Let's just go with the first 5.
I'll tell you, there's one reason that you can get rid of Godwin, and look to 2 weeks ago. If they have a big lead, they pull him from games to protect his knee. If they're in the game, like last week, they'll keep him out there the whole time. But if they go up, as they did against Atlanta, they yank them off the field in the second half. So it's just, when you're talking about that quality, I guess it's a 10-team league, you got to just look for small things like that. And that would be my tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, this might also be a 12-team league where he made trades or where people faded Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if you remember that in August. Like, there were literally leagues where McCaffrey would fall to like pick 9 because people are like pussies and won't draft a guy because he's hurt.
Yeah, in my hometown league, that's very competitive. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. He fell to 7, or maybe it was 6. Either was crazy to me. Crazy.
Yeah, so let's just go with the first 5 there. I like it's a 10-man league, JP Moore says. Yeah, that's not surprising. Your team looks really good. Stevenson's like a top 5 back. The only guy that actually worries me in this equation is Jonathan Taylor. I'm somewhat worried about him, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that coming off the injury. Yeah.
You're going to play him, but it is like you could like talk yourself into playing Godwin over him, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Monitor that practice. If he gets a full participation in, that would be nice to see. You know?
Yeah.
Like I said, you're it's just, you're really, that's the tough thing about those 10-teamers. You got to choose between gold and gold.
Yeah, and if you choose the wrong one, you're in a tough scene there.
Yeah.
So 28 through 33, tier 4, Romeo Dubes, however the hell you say this guy's name. The comment section is relentless on me on how to say this guy's name. I have no idea how to say it.
Pretty sure it's Dobbs, but I'm just going off of the way I've heard it.
Yeah, see, I've heard Dobbs, I've heard Dubes, I've heard all types of things. So Romeo Dobbs, Alan Lazard, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Boyd, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Drizzy Drake London. What are we doing with Jeudy? He's seeing a lot of targets. They're playing the Jets, and Russell Wilson fucking sucks. So what do we do?
Well, I feel better than him over Tyler Boyd, who you're hoping does, something with a few targets, or Drake London, who catches 3 balls a game. Terry McLaurin has very high upside on this list. Dobbs obviously has high upside from the amount of I think he had a pretty bad week last week, I believe, and I think he still had like 10 targets though. And if you're getting that from Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you saw what he did when he came through with more of those targets. And he seems to have a decent amount of trust. So, and Lazard's been pretty steady. Obviously, he's always that red zone threat. Jeudy, look, they say that the best path to eventual production is targets. So you just have to feel that it's going to start coming through at some point for Jeudy. So the two that I like the least on there are Boyd and London.
Yeah, Lazard has scored, I believe, he's played 5 games, something like that, or 4 games, and he scored either 4 out of 5 games or 3 out of 4 games. I did my wide receiver video that's not released yet. I did it last night, and I talked about that. Lazard has been very consistent this year, and I was really high on him early on in the offseason, and I kind of faded away, and now I feel like a dumbass for fading away because like all that Dobbs hype was unreal towards the end of the summer, and it kind of scared me off of Lazard.
Yeah, but I think you had to you had to draft Lazard relatively high, correct?
He was going higher, and then with the Dobbs hype, he kept falling. But in a lot of leagues I'm in, like Lazard was still going pretty high. But like the quote unquote sharp people moved him down. But then again, you can't fucking take anything from like the sharp ADP because when you go draft with your friends, like fucking shit hits the fan. You're drafting.
It's the ruckus factor. Yeah, it's a war.
Windows.
Yeah. It's like learning in a classroom how to go do something that you need to do on the field. Once you're on the field, a lot of that goes out the window. It's that Mike Tyson, getting punched in the face, everything changes kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the main league I'm in, my girlfriend's dad is now in the league, and he drafted Dameon Pierce and Alan Lazard like 5 rounds in advance, and now his team is like the best in the league. So gotta be sharp like that. So real quick, before we get on into the next tier of receivers, we got the ad read here. The great one, Mr. Gretzky, chilling at the top of the screen, number 99. All you got to do tonight is bet $10 on BetMGM. Now you have to be a new user. Bet $10 on any NHL game money line, and you'll win $200 in free bets if anyone scores. Now, Andy is more of an NHL guy than me. I only watch the Devils games, and normally I turn them off because they fucking suck. But if you bet $10, you win $200 if any team scores. Someone's scoring tonight.
So they have to score because games aren't allowed to end 0-0. So it's, like when they do a similar one, if either team scores a touchdown, you could technically lose. You can't lose this one. You literally can't lose.
It's also like the NBA one they're offering where like if any team makes a 3-pointer, someone's making a 3-pointer.
Yeah, but at least it can actually technically happen that a 3-pointer is never hit. It's impossible for a game to end 0-0. 100% of games will end with a score.
Exactly. So someone's scoring. So make sure if you're new to BetMGM, you deposit that $10 and you get your $200 in free bets. And guess what? If you don't like NHL, then you don't have to bet on NHL with those free bets. You can bet on the NFL.
You don't say such blasphemous things in front of me.
No, well, Andy's a NHL sharp. So go on OddsShopper, watch Andy. But yeah, so again, make sure you take advantage of this offer because sportsbooks don't love giving out free money. And this offer isn't forever, It doesn't last forever. So make sure you take it now. Again, you got to be a first-time BetMGM user, and you can only bet on the money line. Again, it's guaranteed for $200 in free bets. So make sure you guys do check that out. Back on into things, though. And yeah, make sure you guys do check out Andy's videos on OddsShopper. They are exquisite, as they say. So the next tier of players here, DJ Moore through Rashad Bateman. Look, DJ Moore, I tried to talk myself. I galaxy brained myself into thinking that DJ Moore was going to bounce back with PJ Walker because PJ Walker on average targets him more than whoever the fuck the quarterback was, Baker Mayfield. And it turned out that was absolutely wrong. PJ Walker did not even throw the ball. I think it was 3 times he threw the ball over the line of scrimmage, which is not good at all. This is a very tough scene to be in for DJ Moore. I am incredibly nervous about DJ Moore. What do you think about
Give
DJ
it
Moore? 'Cause
one
I'm telling
last
you to cut him.
week. Give it one last week because that same thing. Well, just give it one more week with a quarterback we've seen him be all right with. Not that there was extra target competition with Robbie Anderson, but I do want to know if maybe Jalen Ramsey was lined up against him a majority of the snaps last week. Give him one last week. I'm going to be using him in DFS as my run back on the. I'm pretty sure they're playing the Bucks, right?
Yes. I have played DJ Moore every week. It has not resulted in any profit.
Got to pick the right weeks, my friend. Got to pick the right weeks, and I really do believe this could be the spot. I didn't like last week because of that spot on the road against the Rams, but against Tampa, who always has been able in these last couple of years, unbelievable run defense. And the one place you can get them, especially if they run up a lead early, is through the air. And they just don't have other options other than Moore. I weirdly trust DJ Moore this week.
All right. So for all the audio listeners, wide receivers 34 through 45 are DJ Moore, Brandon Aiyuk, Curtis Samuel, Chase Claypool. That dude was packing a fat lip after the game. I don't know if you saw that interview. Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, Zay Jones, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Rondale Moore, who's in there a second time. He's not actually ranked at that spot. That's just me being an idiot and not moving him. 43 is actually Russell Gage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 44 is Nick Westbrook, Ikain. His name is so long it doesn't even fit in the box. And then Rashad Bateman. So those are the top 45 guys. Let's just answer some questions real quick here. What is your take on Gallup? I only have Pittman, Hopkins, and Gallup. I can switch to Brian Robinson and Gibson for Gallup. What's your take? If you only have Pittman and Hopkins and Gallup, you have to hold Gallup. You don't need a running back. So I'm holding Gallup. I think things could be brighter pastures ahead.
I think he's asking who to play, right? I have Pittman, Hopkins, and Gallup. I can switch to Brian Robinson.
Oh, okay. That's what he's saying, right? Maybe
it has to be because he's not asking about trade. He doesn't use the word trade anywhere.
Okay, then yeah. So I would play instead of Gallup. I'd play Brian Robinson.
Their matchup is Green Bay. Yeah, one or the other. The one positive. It's tough because Gallup has a pretty good rapport with Dak Prescott, and they're playing Detroit at home, correct? So
yes.
That is a tough one. And Brian Robinson, he might be game script dependent, where if it's a close game, it will be good. But if Green Bay happens to go up 14-3, is he going to see the field a lot, or is it going to be more pass catchers? Because he caught 0 balls, correct? And that was a game where they were within 1 score the whole time. That's like a Brian Robinson situation. We haven't seen his utilization if they ever get down in the game. I would actually take Gallup in that one because I believe that Robinson's going to be a little touchdown dependent.
Yeah, I think Robinson will be touchdown dependent all year. I think that with Heineke under center, I trust them a little bit more. I don't know if that's a weird take, like to trust them more with Heineke over Wentz. I think Brian Robinson's going to have a decent game, but I understand why you want to go Gallup, so I'm not going to try to talk you off of it. Drake London, A.J. Dillon, or B-Rob in the flex. For me, that's pretty easy. I'm fucking sick and tired of A.J. Dillon. We're going Drake London.
Oh, full point PPR? Yeah. The last time we got on one of these, I said, since day one, I looked at Dillon as a backup, just like everyone else. And people gave me flack. On a team with few receivers, they need as much of Aaron Jones on that field as possible. And now that they're not that great, they really need him on that field catching balls. So A.J. Dillon's just out. He is out for me. At least London on a bad team can get in these games where they're forced to throw. So, yeah, London.
Yeah. Benny was pointing out Aiyuk last week, who scored 28 points. Last week, prior to Sunday slated games kicking off, I do a live stream from 11:30 a.m. EST up until lock. And I was talking about how, oh, my God, Ayuk's only, he's not doing shit. He's not going to do anything in this game. And like I was basically dancing on the guy's grave, and then he scores 3 touchdowns. So quite fun.
He's doing what he did last year. It's that Aiyuk ramp up in production as the season goes on. And he showed trickles of it before that. I think he had a touchdown 2 weeks earlier, and then maybe he had decent yardage the next game. And then that was the truly big game. I think maybe it was they were showing it coming along.
All right.
Garoppolo, you know what you're going to get. Kittle's going to get his 50 to 75, and then Aiyuk is going to get a certain amount of looks, a little more touchdown dependent, and Debo has a chance to go for over 100 total between the receiving and the rushing. And the later you get in the year, Debo's usage will probably ramp up. But Aiyuk is always going to be a threat for 60 and a touchdown as long as Garoppolo's there. He has a good thing with those 3 players.
Yep, I agree with that. Would you drop Juju Smith-Schuster for Raheem Mostert real quick before you answer that? Make sure everyone in the stream hits the like button. I have no idea how many likes we have because I don't have this popped up on YouTube, but it's definitely not enough regardless. So make sure you hit that like button. We should have 92 likes. There's 92 people in here.
Yeah,
what do you
don't
think?
be like shysters. We're not asking you to go get a bucket of water and walk up a hill to bring it back to us. We're asking you to literally move your finger and click a button. I could understand if we asked you to do something even relatively to change the channel on your television. I could understand if you didn't want us to do, but to just click something that you're already watching. I mean, I understand. I got some lazy ass friends, but that's next level. As far as that, I have an affinity for Mostert. I always have. He's like almost the all-time leader in yards per carry, or he was before maybe this season started. But he looks like the Mostert I remember, where any single carry can go to the house. Before last week, where they kind of stuffed him. I mean, he had over 100 and a touchdown versus the Jets. They obviously like him because his coach remembers his prime San Fran days. And I've always loved the guy, always. So I have an affinity for Mostert. And I'm not even a Dolphins fan, so I don't have the excuse.
So would you rather have Juju or Mostert? I think I'd have to hold Juju based upon what he's done.
Well, I can't drop the guy, but I can't say how the hell is Mostert available?
It's probably a 10-team league. But Mostert is like, people also probably last week he had a shit game. People panic so quickly. Like what you realize is like the leagues that a lot of people play in, like you have one bad game, pal, your ass is grass. Like people don't give a fuck. It's very
okay.
shitty.
I understand, but if the guy had like a good couple of weeks before that, like, you know what I'm saying? How many weeks buys you one bad week? Like, were the Mark Andrews people going nuts when he had 2 catches for like 10 yards? It's just like, against I believe when they finally gave him a chance to run a little bit more against the Bengals after Tua left the game, he looked good, held on to the job very next week, looked great. It's like, I mean, Jeff Wilson, huge fan of. He's been nothing but productive. Dudded last week. Am I just going to drop him? No, I still think that Shanahan offense, he's top 10, Yeah.
So no, I agree with you. I'm just saying people do cut people. Like Rise Above Everything said he literally picked up Hopkins off the waiver wire. Like there are leagues where guys are available. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what to tell you then. These are champagne problems you have,
All right, so Mostert or B-Rob, to me, it's pretty easy. I'm going Mostert.
That's a slam dunk Mostert.
All right. Michael says, having D-Hop rated at 22 behind Brandon Cooks honestly makes me not trust any of your rankings. That seems way off.
Well, would you mind pulling up Brandon Cook's statistics and seeing how Nico Collins is actually borderline outproducing him this year? Where are those Cooks 8 catches and 100 and touchdown games? No, what's embarrassing is you saying something like that without having any of the relevant information and just saying, the fact that you're ranked. By the way, I also disagree with a large majority, but at least pick a name that of it. What the hell has Cooks done? Go ahead, guy. I know the guy's scrambling to find the stats. Cooks hasn't done shit. Not what he was drafted to do, or even remotely close to it.
Isn't that what he's saying though? Because we have D-Hop rated behind Cooks. Is that what he's saying? Like, I think he agrees with what you're saying.
He's saying having D-Hop rated, like he's saying, how can you put Hopkins behind him? He should be in front of him.
Yeah,
Um,
which makes sense. That's a logical thought process.
yeah, so this is where I have to just say out loud, and hopefully this buys some credibility. I am a huge piece of shit for coming out and saying what I just said. Like, I'm embarrassed. Full Billy Madison. I have made everyone here dumber for having listened to that diatribe. And I guess may God have mercy on my soul. I will be awarded no points, and I will penalize myself and not allow myself to come back for a minimum like 3 weeks. I am punishing myself for even saying something like that.
Yeah, no.
So I guess let's go on to the next player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what he's saying. The reason why is because these analytics, these are like DFS rankings, and because of how good Brandon Cooks has been in the past, like they also rank in how good they've been prior seasons. Brandon Cooks has been the definition of consistency. This year is the exact opposite. So that's why he's up here. I wouldn't have him ranked this high. He's not even in my top 32 receivers this week.
How about this? I think they should both be lower. However, Cook still has the targets. He's just dealt with the bad quarterback play. You know, go watch that week 1 Vincent Jackson performance. If I see DeAndre Hopkins pull that hamstring on route number 8, I'm calling you. And I'm still going to say I'm embarrassed about what I did, but I'm calling you. And I'm saying that's why they had him down there. Vincent Jackson in 2011.
That's crazy. I don't even remember that game, but I was 11 years old when that game.
Colts Sunday Night Football took me out of the fantasy playoffs. I'll never forget it. I'm one of those guys I remember every time I've been screwed my whole life. If a night goes my way, everything goes my way. It went the exact way I would have hoped. I talked to the hottest girl at the bar. Don't remember any of it. Why? Because I just go, yeah, that's what should have happened. Anything bad to me, I remember every millisecond of it. That's
true. I literally always remember the bad shit that happens in fantasy. Never anything that's remotely good. Like for instance, I remember vividly when Pat McAfee took that snap against the Patriots, and like, you know what I'm talking about, where it was like 2 versus 11.
Yeah,
I vividly remember that, but I won't remember like some crazy touchdown play that happened.
Yeah. Well, it's just how humans are designed, where it's all self-preservation. So the things that screw us, they're implanted in our minds.
All right, so we're gonna answer like 2 questions here, and then we're gonna skedaddle, as they say. Good trade? ? I got Singletary, Rodgers, Evans, Mike Thomas, and Pickens for Lamar, Robert Woods, Mooney, and Eno Benjamin. See, this is the funniest thing about when people ask questions like this. I feel like they know this was like the correct thing to do, and then they ask like for gratification, right? Like, there's no way that this is a bad trade, right? I assume Mike Thomas is going to play again. I think this is a good trade.
Yeah, this is a borderline. He needs his back padded by someone, and he's hoping that someone is the both of us. So I guess we can give it to him. But look at those players you named. Singletary going to have many, not just 1 or 2 good games left. Rodgers, probably his best football's left to come. You know Evans is going to have good games. If Mike Thomas comes back, you saw what he did when he plays. Look at the other side of this. You got Lamar, who those first couple of weeks are guaranteed going to be his best. Woods, I don't know if he's ever topped either 5 catches or 70 yards. Mooney's playing with Fields, and Eno Benjamin's irrelevant in a week.
All right, yep, I agree. And it's also like a lot of people ask for like rating of their team. Like, I've never seen a team where someone asks for a rating where the team looks like absolute shit, right? But the team's just awful.
That would be funny. I'm going to be the first to do like, hey, man, rate my team. It's just going to be full dog shit.
All right. Jason says, worried about game plan for J. Will Jr., Watkins back for Dobbs, and up and down for Alec Pierce. I like Alec Pierce a decent amount this week. And I don't think Watkins coming back really affects Dobbs. Like, Watkins is like
he's benching Wilson for these guys?
Yeah, I'm not benching Wilson for it. No, he says he's worried about the game plan for Wilson. I think he's just looking for an assessment of these players, personally. Oh, no, because he said flex 1 full PPR. The question before was Wilson, Jr., Dobbs, Robinson, or Pierce. My answer would be to go back to the well with Jeff Wilson, but I would flirt with starting out with Pierce instead.
Alec Pierce was on his way to an awful week. And on a play that should have been, honestly, just to get a first down and then kick the game-winning field goal, he ends up scoring like a 30-yard touchdown and salvages his day. Jeff Wilson just gave essentially running back 1 numbers for 4 straight weeks, maybe even 5. I can't even remember at this point. Has 1 bad game. And now you're willing to play a guy who 2 weeks ago, Alex Pierce was available in 14-team leagues on waivers. Yeah. Don't be that guy.
I mean, Alec Pierce is still available in like 40% of leagues, or 60%.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So last question.
Actually, this is what he gets for putting Jim Wilson Jr. on there.
Gotta love Jim Wilson. Final question here. Then we actually do have to get out of here. I don't want to hold Andy for too long. Got him held fucking hostage. Gary
It's my
Moore.
fault. I go on rants for 25 minutes, and that's what happens.
All right. So thank you guys for watching the stream again. Hit that fucking like button. Full PPR flex 2. Full PPR. Jacoby Myers, Dobbs, Pierce, Moore, Gallup. I'm going to answer first. I think this is really easy. Myers and Moore. What do you think?
You can't bench Myers because what he does is astounding out there. That's tough. I would argue if you need the higher upside, the highest likelihood of 120 and 2 touchdowns is Dobbs. If you need the highest floor, I just think with that matchup tonight, Rondale Moore can be a really good option in full PPR. So I'm kind of on board with him, but when you look at Dobbs's weeks, a couple very good weeks, and then a bad week with the footnote, he had the same amount of targets as the weeks that he had a lot of production. So I would go definitely Myers and then whatever you need in that last position. You know what I'm saying? Like when you play the first place team in your league, you need that higher ceiling. So you'll play somebody who can really go off. Well, Rondale Moore ain't doing that. Rondale Moore is not having, 110 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of your matchup questions are really just based on who the hell you're playing against, right? If you're playing a game that you think is easy or really hard. So I'm just pulling all the rankings up on the screen here as we get out of here so everyone can screenshot this or whatever. I don't think anyone has any questions about if they should start fucking Shy Smith or whatever, but I do think we have Tyquan Thornton ranked way too low as wide receiver 74. I think he should be much higher than that. And yeah, I know this is going to be hard for Andy to see because, like, you're not full screen. Like, they're full screen.
No,
on their computers, so they can probably see it better.
I've full screened. Yeah, I gave you that kind of respect.
Okay.
So are you talking about down in these bunkers here?
Yeah, down in the bunkers. Like, is there anyone that somewhat interests you? So say like tier 6, like the F tier and on, so wide receiver 53 and on. Do any of these guys somewhat make you be like, you know what, I could talk myself into starting them?
Well, if you were encouraged about what you saw from Wendell Robinson last week, there obviously is opportunity there because Daniel Jones hasn't had a rapport with anybody, and there's plenty of opportunity to go around there. So you can see him continuing what he started last week, and then potentially, like, if you're in a bind, any one of those jet receivers, it could be their day. Like anytime, like on this, when you look at this list, do you say were any of these guys drafted high? And then you see Elijah Moore sitting there, is he waiting for a relative, he had good games with Wilson last year. So at least we know it's a possibility. Tough matchup though.
Did you see Elijah Moore's tweet where he was basically like insinuating? Now he didn't say this, but he's like danced around the fact that like, hey, maybe you should throw me the ball, Zach Wilson. I had 1 target last week. Basically, is what he said.
Yeah, and then it could. I didn't see it, but maybe that squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. You complain, you get some extra looks. So I don't know.
He didn't actually complain, but he basically complained. It was one of those long diplomatic responses where it's like, you're not really saying anything, but anyone with a fucking brain knows what he's saying.
Yeah, the passive-aggressive comment from your girlfriend where they want you to know what they're insinuating, of course.
All right, so last question here, then we actually are going to leave. Kirk, Curtis Samuel, or Keenan Allen. I'm going to play Kirk and Keenan Allen and pray to the 7 gods, like from Game of Thrones, that Keenan Allen plays. I don't think he's going to play, though, so you're going to have to go Kirk and Curtis Samuel.
I think he's going to play. And I agree with those two more so because we know that Samuel had this weird thing with Wentz where he was getting a ton of catches. And we know that last year with Heineke, McLaurin had kind of his thing. So it would be nice to see before you trusted Samuel over someone you probably drafted very high in Keenan Allen, because he had a quarter and a half with Justin Herbert this year and had like 66 yards. So what they got there. If he plays, he's getting points against they're playing at home against Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle.
Come on. Yeah, so that answer.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about Allen is it literally came out last night where he was like asked a question. They were like, "Hey, are you going to play? Like, are you guaranteed to play?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to test it pregame or whatever."
Oh, that's not good.
And then it was like, "Oh, are you comfortable sitting until the bye week because they have a bye next week?" He said yes. So that's why I think he might not play. But who knows? Maybe he's just pulling some mental warfare on the other team, and he's going to go out there and fucking score 100 yards, touchdown.
No, that sounds like a rest him in a winnable game when you put it like that.
All right. So thank you guys for watching today's stream. Make sure you hit that like button again. Like Andy said, it takes like literally half a second. If you're on your phone, you just click out of this for a second, click like. If you're on your computer, just on full screen, click like. Make sure you guys do that. Andy, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me anywhere you want. You see that name on your screen right there? It says Andy Francess. That's my name on all platforms. I'm not the Andy_Francis 9. I was able to wiggle that name on all platforms. So you can find me on any of them. I'm probably the most active on Instagram. I post the sports betting stuff on Twitter. I don't even want to tell you, but I've been beyond red hot since, honestly, through last NHL playoffs. But that's all coming to a crashing halt now that I'm telling you to come. But you could find me on any of those platforms with the name you see on your screen. I still am an asshole for that little thing I pulled on DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm the kind of guy I'll be thinking about that for 9 weeks, long after the season's over. On a random Wednesday, I'm gonna have a little tick. It's because I said that on this episode. So just know I'm penalizing myself hard. You don't have to do it any further.
All right. I like that. My dad in the chat earlier said that he likes your arcade one-up machine behind you. So he's been trying to buy one of those. There's none available. So
nice. Well, thank you for calling me out for not having the real machine, the actual expensive one. I used to have a real NFL Blitz machine, which was like 3 times the size of this. Really, I just got it for a decoration for here. It was on sale. Big sale on, you ready for this? QVC, Mr. Lepri. QVC, that channel that I thought stopped existing 25 years ago, they had it on a big sale. They might still do it, or they might still have that sale. But you can DM me for links. All right? I appreciate the compliment, though.
QVC definitely still exists because that lady on Shark Tank always talks about how she has QVC, as if that moves the needle in 2020.
Do I have 1 minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the biggest scam I've ever seen, when she starts guilting these people on Shark Tank. She goes, well, I can get this on QVC. I haven't seen QVC since I've been in my grandma's kitchen 25 years ago. The fact that I'm supposed to, wait, you're going to sell my random roll-up socks on that QVC is going to help me? Who the hell's watching QVC? Haven't seen it on a television set in multiple decades, and you're going to throw it out in there? That's like me saying, I'll beat you in NHL 94. I'll beat you. What the hell good is that going to do me now? Nothing. And I hate when they come out with that QVC threat and then make people take a worse deal. It's like, you're forced to trade one of your best running backs. Why? Oh, because of QVC. No, I honestly, I'm out. I would be retroactively out. I'd be out of the Shark Tank because I'd be too insulted with the QVC offer. Yeah. Hate the QVC Shark Tank. And that's how I'm going to end on this particular episode.
All right. Make sure you guys follow Andy everywhere. Again, if you weren't in the stream, we were talking about BetMGM. If you bet $10 using the link in the video description, if you're a first-time user, you bet $10 on any NHL money line pregame. You receive $200 if any team scores. As Andy said, someone's got to fucking score. The game can end 0-0. Andy's pointing at it, I think. He's doing a good job of pointing at Wayne.
And tell me that doesn't look like Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. Wayne Gretzky currently looks like Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. Look at him up there. You see him?
He does. All right. I like that. So make sure you guys check that out again. Make sure you take advantage because the offer's only available for, I think, the next week or two. So make sure you guys take advantage now. See you guys later. Shout out to Andy for joining today's stream. And QVC does monster sales. She's the only shark that has made successful companies. Who the fuck is watching QVC? That's a genuine question. Like old people? Joe?
I'm not just going to buy this claim that QVC is making. It was a nightmare to get this thing from QVC. They canceled my order twice. And sorry, like I don't have a personal vendetta against QVC. I will tell you, they canceled my order twice, thinking it was fraudulent. I had to call them and say, "No, it's me. I want the damn Street Fighter 2 thing." And then when I see them flaunting themselves on Shark Tank, no, I'm out on QVC.
The stock is $15. It can't be that good.
See, whoever told you that, they're part of this Ponzi scheme, the QVC Ponzi scheme. Where no, it's the best. It's absolutely the best. It's like that Andrew Tate guy, where nobody can explain what he actually does, but they're all telling you, "Oh no, you got to see this guy." No.
All right, make sure you guys hit that like button. Shout out, or actually reverse shout out. How do you unshout out someone? Thumbs down to QVC. Fuck those guys. See you guys later. Have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll be back tonight, Thursday Night Football, before the game starts.
Don't think they'll be sponsoring our next show.
I think they'll ever sponsor us. Fuck them. Bye-bye.